Alrighty, it's time for another update. Let's get to it. Hi everyone, I'm Sandy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a 1001 book countdown update video for you. If you're not familiar with the 1001 book countdown, I will leave a card up here for you where you can go and check out the original video. But basically, I'm reading books off of the 1001 books you must read before you die list and slowly making my way through all the books on that list. I've been working on this for a very, very long time. I just started doing this out here on YouTube a few years ago just to start documenting my way through the process. And I have to say, it has been super helpful because I went back multiple times and watched some of the videos about the books that I've already read and realized, oh, okay, I did forget quite a bit about why I liked it or why I didn't like a book. Loving that part of it and having that video journal of everything that I've read off of the list. I made, of course, my life way more difficult because I combined all editions of that book together, and which gave me closer to 1,315 books to read. I have recently passed into the 700s, which is amazing, and I'm really excited to see how long it takes me to get through the rest of this. Hopefully consider giving me a subscribe and sticking around and seeing how I do. But for today, what we'll go ahead and do is put up the numbers, which are 798. That's my main list off of the 1001 list, out of the 1,300 books that I have left to read, and the other number is 49. So what that number represents is every year at the beginning of the year, I pre-select 52 books with the idea that I will read one per week and get that number down to 0. I've never made it. Not one time in the years that I've been doing this, I haven't made it to 0. I keep hoping that maybe I'll get there. I don't know. I don't know if this is my year or not. It's not going necessarily super fast. I'm not, 5 books ahead so far. But I still have some hope. But I am trying to give myself a bit more grace this year. Like last year. Last year was abysmal. I only read, I think, 20 something books off of this list. So, trying to be a little nicer to myself and not worrying about if I don't make it quite to 0 on that. I do have an okay update for you today. I have a couple books to talk about. The first one being the book club pick that I have. If you're not familiar with the 1001 book club, I actually host this with Britta Bowler. She has the 1001 list of all female authors, and we looked at both lists and selected 6 books that we wanted to read this year. And I finished the first one, which was Amy Hempel's Reasons to Live. This book was originally published in 1985. It is the only book that Amy Hempel has on the 1001 book list. This is actually a collection of short fiction, and all of the stories in this really relate around death in some way, but usually it's like someone related or not like the main characters in the story, but someone that they know is either dying or has died, and it's not necessarily a super light-hearted, easy read. And like with any short story collection, this particular one, there were, a couple stories that I thought were decent, and then there were a couple stories I thought were just, kind of okay. I am not a huge fan of short story collections. I struggle with them, and the only reason that this one wasn't a struggle, I thought the stories were really well done. They just didn't stick with me, and they didn't hit me like really emotionally for some reason. There have been some other books that I've read recently where parts of the stories definitely did that, but this one, unfortunately, did not. There wasn't a story in this that I can point back to and go, wow, that's the one. I love that story. They were all just, they were okay. They just didn't hit me. I wanted it to hit me, especially given the topic. So, we'll see if next month's book club pick is better. But this particular one, it's for me not my favorite. But like I said, I have a bias against short story collections. So, But with this book, we do get to go from 798 to 797, and it was on my 2025 list. So that number gets to go from 49 down to 48. Cool, great. And I do have a second book for you. This book is actually, I don't have a physical copy. I checked it out at the library. and it is Carry Me Down by M.J. Hyland. This book was originally published in 2006, so it's one of the newer books on the list. There's nothing beyond, I think, 2015, if I remember correctly. I think that's when the last edition was published of the 1001 Books You Must Read Before You Die list. And this particular book is set in Ireland and features a young boy by the name of John Egan. John Egan is 11 going on 12, but he is super tall. He's almost 6 foot tall, so people always think he's older than he really is and kind of treats him almost like he's older than he is. John Egan is obsessed with the Guinness Book of World Records and thinks that he's going to set a world record for being extraordinary at something. And that one thing that he thinks will get him there ends up wreaking havoc in more than one way in his life. He thinks that he can detect when people are telling lies. And it just comes back over and over again where he is thinking that he knows, and he's getting angrier and angrier. He and his parents live with his grandmother in a very small town outside of Dublin. And he has a number of challenges there, not the least of which is a very, very horrific scene right at the beginning that involved his father and some animals. And I felt like that part of the story was so hard, but really set up the foundation for this book in a way I didn't expect. And it gave me just a real perspective on why John Egan might be having some real challenges, why the family might be having some challenges. I didn't mind being in his head, in an 11-year-old's head through the story either. I thought there were some pieces of it that were like, oh, okay, what are you doing with that? He also thought he could, there were some other things related to him maybe setting a record that caused him to have some problems at school, made it hard for him to make some friends. And then there's a falling out between the parents and the grandmother, which causes them to move to Dublin into what sounds very much like projects and multi-story, 15-story building where the neighborhood is not good. It's dirty. There's a lot of people there that are really struggling. And he just continues to kind of spiral, and his thing of thinking that he can tell when people are lying causes more havoc. And then he just does something really bad. And just like his whole story, I found him very interesting as a character, and just kind of where his head was at. The one kind of issue I had is the ending was very abrupt. I wasn't quite expecting it to stop where it did. I could have had a little bit more. It didn't end in the way I thought it would end either. So from that perspective, it was like, okay, maybe. But yeah, he's an interesting kid, John Egan, in this book. His parents are incredibly messed up. His grandmother's an interesting person where he also is not doing everything necessarily nice to her either. So yeah, it's a hard read. It is. And it's one of those that's like, if you don't like kind of abuse to animals, that first kind of scene is awful. I mean, it's just absolutely devastating. So yeah, read it with a bit of caution, because it's tough. It's tough. But I did like the voice. I liked John Egan's voice, even though he was young. I thought it was very well done. So, but read it with caution, because oh boy, it's a tough one. But with this book, we do get to go from $7.97 to $7.96, and it was on my 2025 list. Author that starts with the letter, last name starts with the letter H, which is my project for this year. So I get to go from 48 down to 47. I'm slightly behind if you look at the numbers, but we're not going to worry about that, as I said before. What am I working on next, though? I can talk about that a little bit, because I have a plethora of books checked out from the library. I don't own most of the books that were on my TBR for this year, so I did start really trying to use my library a little bit more rather than trying to buy some of these. I have this one, Closely Watched Trains by, I can't remember the author's name now. Oh my goodness. Harborough. Oh my goodness, I'll have to look that up. I can't see it on this copy. And the back is purple with black font, which I also can't read. Very short little book. I think it's only 80 something pages, 82 pages. And the font in this is actually really quite big. So that's one that I have coming up. The other one, I did get this also from the lovely library. This particular book is a bind up of two of Rider Haggard's Rider Haggard's greatest novels, She and King Solomon's Mines. I don't know. I don't know which one I'm going to read. It's kind of small, not small. It's not bad font, but it has like no margins. I don't know how long it's going to take me. The other book I did get from the library was Chrome Yellow by Aldous Huxley. I swear these are the oldest possible library books that I could have gotten. It's just like, my goodness. I think they were both in central storage and not actually at the library, which is part of what would explain that. But yeah, I have those kind of four playing around here in my head. I haven't started any of them though, so I don't know which ones I'll read next. But yeah, so far, I mean, I'd say I haven't found my first 5-star this year of the 1001 books, but these ones are the next ones up. So we'll see how it goes. What are you reading? I'd love to hear that. The weather where you are. It's been snowy where I'm at. We don't do well with snow in the Pacific Northwest, which causes a lot to shut down up here. So I have been enjoying a lot of inside time, but would love to hear what you're reading. Have you read any of my upcoming books? I'd love to hear that as well. And what are your thoughts on short story collections? And what one would you think I should read that might change my mind? One of my friends had mentioned a book in the comments, and I have forgotten which one it was, but now I'm curious about that one to see if that would be one that I would really like from a short story collection. But I'd love to hear your suggestions. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, thanks. Bye.